Hello, so this is my answer to the evaluation question 4, which is how did you use media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages? During my individual research stage, I basically used the internet to search and find all of the examples and evaluate all of the videos and get ideas from all of them, in which I used YouTube to find the videos, Google to research the codes and conventions of music videos and album work and websites. For some of my research blog posts on Blogger, which is what we use to document our work again this year, I used some other media platforms to present my research work, such as Glogster or Prezi. I just found that these were a much more creative way of showing what I had found from my research. During the planning stages, we mainly stuck to inside the classroom talking, as we had already done our individual planning, and so we all had ideas of our own. Once we came up with an idea as a group that we were happy with and stable on because of research and planning and just general creativity within our group, we then decided to make questionnaires which we distributed to a group of our peers who we deemed to be within our target audience due to research into music videos of our genre, in which we found that the majority of people watching music videos of our genre were ages from 14 to 25. This is due to statistics from radio stations such as Capital and Radio 1, whose audience range from those ages. Therefore, we thought this peer group would be suitable. We made the questionnaires on standard software like Word and just distributed them that way. We could have used an online questionnaire to reach a wider spread of audience and therefore get maybe a more representative answer. However, at the moment in time we thought that it would be easier to just do a hard copy of the questionnaires. During the planning stages we also made a storyboard and an animatic. For the animatic, we basically took the storyboard and put it together using Premiere Pro and played it along with the track that we chose in order to get a visual representation of what we were going to do. Doing this on Premiere Pro and creating a video out of it really helped us in seeing a proper visual of how it would look, how all of our ideas would flow together in time with the music, and that really aided us in our work, and therefore I think this was really helpful in terms of planning for our video. During the construction of our video we used a DSLR Nikon camera. We all felt that this would be much easier to use as it is handheld and portable, but also of a very high quality, and so we thought that this would be much easier to take with us on set for shoots rather than the larger cameras that the school have. And also it's widely known that DSLR cameras are very high quality, and therefore we thought that this would get the best quality out of our video. Also, it was much easier to use as it was simply focus the camera and push record, whereas the larger, more technical cameras are of a professional standard, and so we may have had more troubles with working and how to use them. So that was useful in terms of time and how quickly we did it, because for the time of year that we were shooting it at, daylight went very quickly, and it was and therefore it was really important for us to have the shooting schedule and to be able to go to each place quickly and be able to use the camera straight away, which helped us a lot in our shooting for time saving. The camera was actually mine, and so to help everyone else I showed everyone how to use it so that everyone would get a chance to film. The camera does not have an autofocus, so for some of the shots that we did, the artist would come in and out of focus sometimes. When we were playing back the footage on the editing software, which was Premiere Pro, sometimes this didn't work, so we had to get rid of some of the shots. But for the majority of them we actually decided that the focus coming in and out actually looked quite cool and coherent with the music video style and with the genre in general, because in the pop genre there are lots of pull focuses or blurring effects. So we thought that this would work quite well. For the majority of the shots that we did, we used handheld camera, as that is a much more typical form of shooting for music videos, as it gives a more realistic and stylised feel to the shooting, therefore creating more visually eye-catching footage for the viewer. During the opening sequence and some of the glow scene shots though, we did use a tripod as it was important, as it was particularly important for the opening scene for everything to be steady cam and still and regimented, as this was the style we were going for with the opening, so that it would create a contrast. As we've all used tripods before in our work, we had no problems with this and it was quite simple and easy to set up and quick. It was also important to use a tripod in some of the glow scene shots, as for the dance routine it was important that for some of the shots the camera was still so that the focus could be on the dance moves. Further technologies that we used during the glow scenes in particular were lighting. For the glow scenes we had to use blue light so that the glow paint would show up and be luminescent on screen. From our experience from last year where we had to carry the lights from place to place a lot, which was very difficult and they weren't very portable, we decided to stay within the school and therefore we wouldn't have to carry them that far. So we went to the drama studios, set up quite quickly with the lights and put the blue filters over the lighting, and it created the effect that we were going for and we were very pleased with it. During editing we used one main editing software, which was Adobe Premiere Pro. I still really like this editing software from last year. I find it easy to use and simple to understand. Some of the other members of the group may not have found it as easy to use, but I feel that this was okay because we all pulled together to help each other to achieve what we all individually wanted from the video. For example, one person wanted to do a split screen but they weren't quite sure how to do it, so we all helped to inform her of how to do that so that she could do it herself and then therefore get what she wanted from it. During the editing we achieved many different styles of editing, including continuity editing during the opening sequence with match on action, jump cuts, reverse shots, and I also edited some of the shots in which the frames appear as if they are beating in time with the music. I feel that one thing that we could have done differently is maybe waited until we had finished the entire piece as a whole before we started doing glamorizing of the video, if you like, where we colorized it and changed some of the shots. As I feel looking back on it, it was more important to get the entire piece of work finished first, and then we could do after effects to the work once it is completely finished. But I'm quite proud of the colorization of the footage. We didn't actually realise that the footage was quite bad in terms of its brightness and colour saturation until after we colorised it and compared the two shots. I personally think it's actually quite amazing that that much can change just from colorising on editing software, and I feel very glad that we definitely got that in there because it's a very key important thing to the pop genre to have bright colours and brightness in the video. I'm just going to quickly show you how to do some of the different effects that we achieved during the project. For example, the split screen frame technique that we did is very simple. You just go onto crop and crop the image to the size that you want it to be. You can scale and position it in different places if you like. Originally we were just going to leave them in the same place that they were in the actual shot, but then we decided to make them equal because we thought this would look much more pleasing to the eye on screen rather than how it would actually be in real life. We then added lines as frames to create borders around them so that they looked a bit more professional. We also colorised them to make them different bright colours. This created a nice look that we thought was quite unique to music video. Another piece of editing that we did was the jump effect, which you can do quite simply in the motion settings in Premiere Pro. The other media technology that we used during the editing stages was Adobe After Effects, which we used to create the title writing at the end of the song, which incorporated the title I Love It, made out of an actual video frame, so that it was sort of a silhouette of the words cut out of the frame on top of another piece of video. Originally, none of us had any idea how to use Adobe After Effects, and we were all very confused as to how to get it to do what we wanted it to do. But then Casey and Libby looked up a instructional video on how to create text out of video frames, and once we figured it out, it took no time at all compared to like the hour it took us trying to work it out ourselves, which is why I find YouTube to be very useful during production stages, as if you're stuck on something, it's quite easy to go online and find an instructional video on how to do it, which would probably be the piece of advice I would give to anyone else doing this sort of thing. But if you're stuck on something, asking for help is always the best way to go. Then during the individual production of the ancillary products of the digipack and the website, for the digipack I used Photoshop. I've had some previous experience with Photoshop, but I wouldn't say I was particularly confident with it, but now that I've used it and got the hang of it, I find that Photoshop is actually quite simple to use, and I'm really glad that I stuck with it even when it annoyed me, because I feel that it's helped me a lot to create the professional looking quality of artwork that I was going for. The main techniques I used on Photoshop were overlaying and colorization, picking out certain points of the photo to make more colorized or to make not overlaid. For example, the I Love It Inside album art page, I used all of the techniques. I used a background image which I overlaid of sort of camera glare spots to make it look a little bit more interesting of the green background, so it wasn't just green, that it had a little bit of extra stuff to it. And then when I originally put this on and overlaid it over the picture, I didn't like the fact that the artist, who is supposed to be the main person, was behind all of the camera glare, so I decided to cut her out and put her on a separate layer so that she was in front of that layer and therefore standing out. I also increased the saturation of the entire image as a whole, and then I increased the saturation of the powder paint individually so that the paint was standing out, and then I also individually increased the saturation of the artist's eyeshadow, which was multicoloured, so that it looked again more interesting and eye-catching to the audience. And that's just an example of what I did for that one. For some of the other ones, I picked out individually the iris of her eyes and overlaid that with other images so that her irises looked like they had more interest going on in them. Also, for some of the artwork, I decided to do the text in a more interesting way. For example, with the text from the skate park pictures, I tried to make it look as if the text was coming off the bars and was written on the floors, and I just thought this would make it more interesting to the viewer, and also as she's supposed to be a sort of slightly more grungy alternative pop artist, she's supposed to be a little bit different, I thought it would translate that a little bit more as well. For the website we used a program called Wix, which I have had previous experience with in last year's evaluation questions, which I used a Wix to do one of the evaluation questions for, so I kind of already knew how to use it a little bit, although I had a bit of trouble with just the general design of how I wanted it to look, because I wanted it to look very professional, and a lot of professional sites are a plain background, so there'd be a block colour like white or black, and I felt that white was much better because for the entire thing it's been about bright colours and brightness, so I thought white would portray that well. However, the white background caused a lot of issues for me, because on the white background, if you make a single mistake, it's very easy to see it. And so I originally started off with a image of the artist as the front page, for example, and it just didn't work because the feathering of the image wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be, so it literally just looked like her face was plastered on the home screen and it didn't look very smooth or anything. In fact, that's actually one thing that if I had more time, I would have changed about the newsfeed page, because I feel that that's similar with the image of the artist on that page, that it looks a little bit like that. However, I feel when I started to get the hang of doing the blocks and shapes, that it created a much more smooth feel to the website as a whole, that every page sort of linked together. In the main theme of it was the neon blocks, which linked to the glow paint stuff from everything else. Also on the website I added links to social networking sites such as Facebook, Instagram, blog sites like Tumblr and Google+, as these are widely used on all websites, especially for pop artists, as it's a very easy way to connect with the audience. I actually created an Instagram account and posted some of the pictures of the artist getting ready for makeup, doing shoots, going to award ceremonies and stuff, and posted those onto Instagram, and also posted them onto the Twitter account that I also made for her. And then I also linked all of that to the gallery on the website. So for example, when she uploaded a picture, I would say all linking photos to this are now up on her Tumblr, click here to find them, so that it created a coherent linking thing from all forms. There's the link to the Tumblrs and stuff, and then the other way of finding it through the gallery, so that if you're interested in something you can find out even more about it from the social networking site, which is a common convention of all artists in the music industry to have. I then asked a group of my peers to feedback on my website and digipack. I did this again on Facebook, as the responses are generally much quicker and it's less hassle because it's simple and easy and friendly. And so again, media technologies of the social networking sites helped me a lot in the audience feedback stages, as it was much easier to use the quick social networking sites. And once we completed the main project of the music video, we got a focus group of year 11s to answer a quick questionnaire, which was again just using Word, as it was simpler to hand out paper in the classroom than doing an online survey or something like that. Finally, during the evaluation stages, I used media technologies including Prezi, Glogster, PowerPoint, and now for this one I'm using a video, which I am going to edit on Premiere Pro. Since I've been using Prezi for 2 years now, I find it very simple and easy to use, and it's a much more interesting way of doing a PowerPoint. However, I also used the PowerPoint for question 3, since I find that PowerPoint, since it's updated and you can create videos from it, is just as good as Prezi, as it can do near enough the same things that it can do. I also used Glogster, which is an image blog post type form of media. I felt that this was good to use for that particular question, as it was asking about the ancillary products such as the digipacks, and therefore it would be easier to use a photo form answer as it's assessing the photos. And then for this question I'm evidently doing a video, which I feel is good to use for this one, as it's asking about what media technologies you used, and so I'm using a camera, which is a basic form of media technology. So that's how I use the media technologies in this construction, planning, research and evaluation stages. The advice I would pass on to anyone else doing this is to just be organised, and to perhaps learn how to use the technologies beforehand. For example, as I said before with Adobe After Effects, we didn't learn how to use it, and then it came to the point where we needed to use it, and we wasted quite a bit of time not knowing how to use it, when we could have all gone home in our own time, learnt how to use it, and then come back ready to be able to make what we wanted to make. I would say maybe some disadvantages of YouTube in particular is that when we uploaded our final video to YouTube, it kind of downgraded the quality of it, and so the colour doesn't come out as well. That was something that kind of annoyed me about our project, is that when we saved it on the computer it looked really bright and colourful, and then when it went onto YouTube it didn't look very bright and colourful, and that was quite frustrating to me and was kind of a disadvantage of the file format that we had to save it in. Some of the things that we could have done but didn't due to lack of time was we wanted to do a countdown from the initial London shoots to the powder paint party to make it kind of a build up and anticipation of what's going to come next. And the way we were going to do that was with the number shots, with the artist jumping in front of the numbers. However, we only shot her jumping going down from 9 to 4, and we didn't have the 3, 2, 1. And so we put in 5, 4, and we were going to then do other shots of maybe her spray painting the 3, the 2 written on her face, and the 1 her just doing that. But we didn't really have time to do all of those different shot types, so we eventually ended up just getting her to go 3, 2, 1, and I feel that if we had more time that could have looked a lot better, and we should have shot it better and in more of an interesting way, because that is one of the shots that I am quite disappointed with, because I feel that it doesn't quite fit in or make sense with the rest of the video. So yeah, the main advice that I would give to anyone else doing this sort of project is to keep on top of it and make sure that you have everything planned, and that you know how to use the technology, and that you know what cameras you're using, where you need to go, what shots you need to do, time, the ease of use of the cameras, the handling, the portability of the cameras and everything, so that you can get everything done on time and so that you can stay on top of all of the work. Because if you do run into a problem like ours, it is so much better if you have the time to go back and reshoot it, because with us we ran out of time and just had to do basically a filler shot. And yeah, that's all of the advice that I would pass on, and that's how I used all of the different media technologies throughout the project. So thank you for watching my final evaluation question. Goodbye.